All right, kiddos, before we get rolling, we need to have discussion. There are 220 kids in the freshman class. Do you know how many are on the Spartan time list? The Spartan time list is the list of kids who have either a D or an F or both or multiple, meaning a kid who has at least one class below a C. 106. Half of the freshman class. So, remember when I said every year we see this? Y'all aren't anything special. It happens every year. Freshmen come up from the middle school, especially ones who haven't had to try because they were never held accountable. You didn't have to do the thing because even if you failed horribly, you still got passed up to the next grade. Now you're in the high school. Guess what, y'all? If you don't make it to the end of this semester, you don't go on to second semester. They pull you out of the class because you failed the first half of the credit. See you again next year. You'd have to take it over. You have to waste a whole nother year. Collectively, we had about 850 some total assigned items for 28 kids. Was it 868, I think? 898? Okay. Meaning 28 kids, 15 things per week. That's daily quiz, the homework you had to do, the in-class notes for a day. We did that 10 times. Grand total of about 900 total things assigned amongst the entire group collectively. 298 of that was not attempted. Not even attempted. I'm not talking about I did part of it or I gave it a go. Just straight up didn't even try. A third of your collective work didn't even pick up the pencil to throw it at the paper. That is why we have 9 out of 28 kids failing. Take a look at the upperclassmen. Algebra 2 and Pre-Calc, those are all sophomores and juniors. I run those classes identical to this. I run all of my classes the same. In class, I do a thing, you do a thing. We go through it, we practice. Are we cool? Yes, no? All right, move on to the next thing. I do a thing, you do a thing. Back and forth and back and forth. As much example and practice as we can possibly cram in 90 minutes. Starting every day with a C-level, middle of the road. If you paid any attention last time, you should be able to do this problem. Everything that we write down in class goes in your notes. All you have to do is turn in that packet of notes when you do a quiz. We do a quiz right after doing a review that looks almost identical to it. It's just different numbers. And you get to use it on the quiz. It's open notes. It's open book. All the solutions are online. You know what's going to happen tomorrow? Some of your parents are going to walk in here all fired up. Why do they got this grade? I'm going to tell them that stuff, and then they're going to come home and commit murder. Because the class is offered up to you on a silver platter. You have to actively try to not give a flying fornication in order to get below a C in my classes. You have to actively try to not care to get below a C in my classes. This is what I'm used to. These kids just got a royal chewing last hour because I've never seen my inclusion algebra look like that. Ever. 13 years, never seen a class like that. My inclusion algebra usually looks like this. So they got a big chewing. I hope I don't have to do the same in here. If you had a whole bunch of missing stuff in campus, get it done. I'll still take it. This is on YouTube right now. I'm live. Hit that like, smash that bell. Okay? Like, everything that we've done in class, you can go back, watch the video, fast forward past me ranting like this, and just write things down. Turn it in. Get free points. Now remember, only 10% of the grade is I did my notes and I did my homework. I'm doing what I'm supposed to try to learn. 10% is daily quizzes. It's pretty obvious who was BSing those. You think I don't know? I know. You can't get 5 out of 5 every single day and then end up with a 52 on your quiz, and somehow that discrepancy is not noted. Okay? The quiz is everything, because the quiz is the assessment that tells me what you know, but you are fully supported. All I want for you is to try. Just try. Because there's going to be an awful lot of awkward conversations tomorrow. It's usually the freshman parents who come in for fall conferences because they don't know how this whole high school thing goes yet. And they're going to say, well, my darling little angel here was so good in middle school. Why are they failing? Why do they have a C instead of an A? They always get A's. And then we tell them, look, this is all the stuff that we give them. Oh. And then they go home and they whale you over the head with something heavy. Okay? Y'all, I want to spare you that experience. So please, ask questions. I get it. You got 28 kids in here. Not everyone's an extrovert. Not everyone can interrupt the entire class. Not everyone feels comfortable doing that. There's a reason that when you're working, I'm walking around. How much easier is it for the really, really quiet kid as I get to the back to be like, hey, Mr. Sullivan. Oh, what's up? And I help. I do that for a reason. I want to get around the room and be more accessible to you. You don't like doing that. I just creep you out and you don't want to talk to me. You don't want to see my face flapping in front of yours. Text me on Remind. Text me at 12:30 at night. I don't care. I'm going to answer you at 5:45 in the morning. Okay. I just want you to be engaged. Because you all see what you're doing so far and where that got you. Are you going to continue to do what you were doing? Or are you going to try to do things and have these kids come up here, and these kids come up here, and these kids come up here next time? We're only a quarter of the way through the semester. You have 75% of the semester left. Plus, I take lit work. You've got more than enough time to turn in some old stuff. I can't do anything about the quizzes. Y'all, what you get on the quiz is what you get on the quiz. You're as supported as you're ever going to be in any high school class. Other teachers don't give you this much resource for a quiz, for a test. Okay? In fact, I know a good chunk of our math department just says, here's the test, put everything away. Memorize it. Okay? I want you to do well, and this was not well. Now, for those of you who are doing what you're supposed to, great. Could you do better? I'm not asking for blood, sweat, and tears math. I got a kid in Algebra 2. She pops in every day and just rapid fires like 6 questions at me. She's in and out of the room in 5 minutes. It works. She's got an A. Send a question on remind. If you're going to do your homework at 11 o'clock at night, okay. Bad life choice, but okay. I'll answer you in the morning. You'll at least know. Wander down during Spartan time. I have one kid who needs to be in here during Spartan time. That's it. Otherwise, my Spartan time is just a bunch of nerds. I'm bored. I am bored. That's why I'm usually playing games with them. Okay? So please. Well, that and I'm avoiding my work because life choices, right? All I want you to do is try, get engaged with your learning, ask questions. Doesn't have to be blood, sweat, and tears math. Just try. Okay? This is not trying. This is not giving a damn and thinking it's going to work. Okay? If you have late work, go into campus. There is a lot of stuff marked missing right now. A lot. If you have anything that is missing, if you have anything that says completion and it has a 2 out of 20, that doesn't mean that you turned it in and that was your score. That means you literally did 2 of the 20 things. You should probably do more. I'll go back and change those. But you're not going to come to me saying, what can I do to get my grade up with that much blank stuff in the grade book? Okay? I know you can do this. You have more than enough time to get stuff figured out. We can do better. Don't give up on high school the first 5 weeks. Okay? Yo. You did not do quiz 2. You can do that with me. You can do that in Bush's room. I don't care. I would rather that you stayed current on what we're doing. Okay. Yo. Page what? If I have I tell kids, try not to throw things out the second that you think it's in the grade book, because what if my kid dumps his whole apple juice on my grade book and now I think that 5 is a 25 or that 25 is a 2? What happens if, like, I don't look at the keyboard, I enter my grades like this. What happens if I just fat finger it and I say that Killian's got a 252 out of 25 and Tyson has a 2 out of 25 because I just hit enter at the wrong point? Keep it for a while just so you have an insurance policy in case the gradebook's wrong. So we left off. We started doing multi-step equations. Multi-step, meaning more than one. We did 2-step equations where it was usually add the thing, divide the thing. Or multiply the thing, subtract the thing. Just 2 steps. We started doing a little more than that, where you got to clean up things. If I remember right, we already did this, right? So right after problem 3, how many of these did we do? 9 and 3. We did 9 and 3? Well then, let's start with 2 to try to knock a little bit of weekend rust off the gears. As the song says, show me what you're working with. So, do I have extra? Yes, I do. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 extra. Mm-hmm. Okay, show me what you're working with. Remember, when we're working on this stuff, I want you talking to your neighbors about math. I want you arguing with your neighbor. Do I divide by the 2 first, or do I distribute it? Have that conversation.
Sometimes I realize how lucky you were that AJ didn't get a B in math when I was in your math class. Because every time this would have happened, it would so magic.
Yeah. Yeah, having Maddie in my pre-calc right now is real bad. She distracts the hell out of me because she was in here last year. She knows my buttons. I think she's a senior. No, she's a junior.
36. And then it's
But she knows how to push my buttons and get me off of topic. Real easy. Yeah. Yo. No, we're in packet number 2. Okay, if you got a number, how do you know if your number is right?
You check it. Calculate.
You check it. Hey, you know on that review and quiz when it said solve and check, solve and check, solve and check? You know how many kids didn't check? You know how many of you lost 10, 15% of your quiz just because you didn't check? Come on, y'all. All I wanted them to do is plug it in a calculator and at least have it next to, like, hey, I checked the problem. But step 1, Disturbert. Now what? I undo subtract 2 with add 2. And I very specifically avoid smashing my head on hard objects. How dare this wall be in my presence? Okay. Negative 38 plus 2. You owe me $38. You give me 2.
36.
You still owe me 36. And then 12 is all hugged up on that, so that was some gross stuff right there.
Janitor walked up and started talking to my mom. Janitor started like flirting with my mom. I was like, good dog, calm down.
How you doing? All right.
Takes me an hour. Dude walks up and he's like, Dad, it takes me an hour after lunch to clean up. I was like, why do you think we want to know?
Think she purdy. We got K is negative 3. How do I know?
Check it yourself.
Now that's another thing that I saw a couple of you do. When you check, where does the check go?
Anywhere.
On the paper.
No, like, where do I put this? Original.
Yes.
I would see kids maybe goof something up along the way here, and maybe they'd get down to 12K is negative 30. And so they would write that K is negative 5 halves. But then they would just take negative 5 halves times 12 and get negative 30. Thinking, oh, cool, I'm right. you don't just redo the last thing you did. You go back to the original and plug it in.
Yes.
Okay? You have to go to the original and plug in the -3. What is 6 by -3? Thank you. -18. -18 minus one more.
-17. Wait.
-19, right? You go further in the hole. And -19 times 2, sure enough, -38. You can do that in the calculator. You don't have to spend brain power on that. If you write this and then just type it in your calculator, you should see -38. You know you're right. Okay. Can you do it when it's more than 3 steps?
Yes.
Go.
What the? Maybe I can. I don't
Oh, what the?
If you just have the negative, wouldn't it be times? Because the parentheses means times. What? Oh.
Stay on the bench, dude.
Exactly. When you multiply that, it just.
You don't multiply -18.
Why not? Oh my gosh.
Every time you run into a plus or a minus, it's a new term.
So then.
Every time you run into a plus or a minus, it's a new term. Good talk.
Thumbs up that I like you.
Y'all, that's a -1 in front of those parentheses. Because it's 18 minus this stuff. I can't go trying to combine the 18x and the -1. Every time I run into a plus or minus, it's a new term. Then go.
So, how do you check it? Because I know I did do that.
Parentheses, dude. 18, parenthesis, stick number in, parenthesis. Power of Christ compels you. Combine like terms. Subtract 7. Divide by 10. Okay?
Okay, I did that wrong, but I still got the right answer. Like I checked it and I got 67, but I got 7.4.
I understand why you said what.
There's two numbers in there.
But I checked it on the calculator and I still got 67, so I don't know how that worked.
Show me your calculator.
Or you like cleared it, but like I promise you, I'm not joking. Okay, let me try again. Let me retrace my steps.
That is operator error then, because I guarantee you it don't work. Case in point. That's right, it's over here. Now you said you got 7.4, right? You had, what, a 74 equals 10x? Now let's say you had a 74 divided by a 10 and you got a thing. I can now take 18 parentheses with my answer, no matter how gross my answer is. Okay, like Tommy, you had some fraction back there, right? 37/9. Okay, so clear, I say 37 divided by 9. It gives me numbers. I don't want string of numbers. I want a fraction because fractions are good. You want to fight, Siri? Odd. Okay. I get 37/9. I can now do 18 parentheses. Everywhere there was an X, there's now a parenthesis. And if I type answer, does everyone see the answer button on their calculator? It's usually in a second feature somewhere by the negative in the bottom row. Okay. Yeah, the Casios just straight up have the answer button. Okay. Minus parenthesis. I already forgot the rest. 8x minus 7. Okay. 8, a parenthesis to say my answer is going here. Minus 7, close the parenthesis. Does everyone see that this is 18x minus 8x minus 7? Okay. All I did was replace the x with the answer that I just got, and I should be able to, what did I miss? Was there a, oh wait, because it didn't work, because yours is wrong, that's why. I get here, and that is most definitely not, what was it supposed to be, like 60, 67? Okay. You can type like this to check your answer. That's okay. All right. If I want to do that same thing, oh, y'all know that you can highlight in most right view calculators and have it repeat it? So check this out. I'm just going to hit 6. 6 is now the last answer that I had. So if I go and highlight this and hit enter, it'll retype the whole thing for me. And now, what is the last answer I had? Okay. So there's a lot of tricks that we can teach you with the right tools. I just got to know what tools you have. Okay. All right. So what if it has fractions? Man, if only everyone in the room had a calculator that does fraction stuff. Now, I would prefer that you know how to do it for real. Now, there are two methods here. Okay, first of all, everyone who's borrowing the bumblebees, how do you put in a fraction on these? Okay. Alpha. Now, you just get a box over box button. It's really nice. Okay. If I hit alpha, and then any of this top row, it's got a bunch of shortcuts for a bunch of stuff we do in math. The one that you care about is alpha y equals, brings up fraction stuff. I want to type fraction stuff. Okay? So if you're using the TI-84s, if you're using mine, alpha y equals, that's fraction. You really don't need to know anything else about that calculator. So, method number 1 says, I'm going to run this exactly like it is right now. If I have, okay, everyone knows, I hope everyone knows that 3x over 4 is the same as 3/4 x. Because, don't write this part, 3x over 4 could be said to be 3 times x. over 4. Well, if they're both over 4, then how about I just write 3 over 4 times, wait a second, that's not add, that's just multiply. How can I make x into a fraction? Isn't 3 times x 3x? 4 times 1 is 4. So I would just write it as 3/4 x. They're the same thing. Okay. So if I got 3/4 x minus x over 3, what number is in front of that x? So could you split it like this one is? It's not 1x over 3. Pull the fraction off to the side. 1/3 x. Now, if I'm trying to take 3/4 minus 1/3, let's go all the way back to, I don't know, 4th grade. You tell me how you're going to do this minus this. Who in here can't cut a pizza straight to save their life?
Sometimes.
Okay, ends up looking like a crescent moon instead, right? The only way that I'm going to make this work is by cutting each of these into thirds and each of these into fourths. Because now each of the pies, each of the pizza pies has 12 slices that are all worth the same. Remember common denominators? Okay. So, you got to know what is the least common multiple between 4 and 3. If you don't know your multiplication facts, oof. You can always just take 4 times 3. Okay? So what times what makes, or what times 4 makes 12?
3.
And what you do to the bottom, you must do to the top. Because, riddle me this, what's 5 times 1?
5.
What's 18 times 1?
18.
Negative 38 times 1. Waffle times 1.
Waffle.
What is 3/4 times 1? What's 5 divided by 5? 1. What's negative 2 divided by negative 2? What's 3 divided by 3? When I take something times 3 over 3, I'm taking it times 1. So I'm not actually changing how much is there. I'm just giving it a little 90s makeover so it can go to prom. Okay? Because that's what all the movies were in the 90s. Like, mean sports guy takes dumpy girl to prom. She gets a makeover. She's hot. Cue the music as she walks down the stairs. Turns out he's a jacket. So, yeah. Yeah, that's true. All right. All right. So I got 9/12 x minus 1/3 times 4 times 4. So 4/12 x. 9 potatoes minus 4 potatoes is 5 potatoes. So 9/12 minus 4/12 is 5/12. So I got 5/12 x. Now what? What's that 5/12 doing to x? No. What is 9 potatoes minus 4 potatoes? 5 potatoes. 9/12 of a pizza minus 4/12 of a pizza is 5/12 of a pizza. The x is just there. The numbers in front are just coefficients.
Where did the other x go?
It didn't. Yo, what if I said 9x minus 4x?
Yeah, just got 5x.
Right?
That's the same thing.
The x doesn't disappear. I don't just say it's now 5. No. Think about it this way. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 x's here minus 1, 2, 3, 4 x's here. There's now 5 x's. There's 5/12 of an x. Okay? All right. It's hugged up on the x. I don't want it there. They're multiplying, so I shall... Dividing by fractions is easy as pie. We'll get there eventually. Times 12 fifths times 12 fifths. How do I turn 10 into a fraction? No. I flip the second. I flipped the 12 fifths. I can, however, cross cancel. What do 10 and 5 have in common? So 10 divided by 5 is 2. 5 divided by 5 is 1. 2 times 12 is 24. 1 times 1 is 1. I don't need to write the 1. X is 24. Now, this is method 1. If you know how to work fractions, method 1 is fine. If you have a calculator that will do the fractions for you, method 1 is fine. And then along comes Yoda the Wise and says, much to learn have you? It turns out we didn't need to do all that work. What if I came all the way back here and said 3x over 4 minus x over 3 is 10? Keep up, Frank. What is the least common denominator? 12? Okay. Take the whole honkin' thing times 12. Well, unfortunately, Larry the Cable Guy was fairly prolific for a while, so he just kind of wormed his way into pop culture. Even old people will figure out Larry the Cable Guy. Okay. Okay. What is a quarter of 12? Times 3. What is a third of 12? 4. What is 12 by 10? Right? You just tack the 0 on the end? Hey, Tyson. What's 9x minus 4x?
Oh, there's a 5x.
What happens when you take 120 divided by 5? I don't have to deal with fractions if I don't wanna. Instead, here's the way that I always wrote it was fractions are evil, makes them go away. Method number 2 says if you ever see denominators in an equation, multiply everything by that denominator to make it go away. You just have to remember to distribute it to every term. And not everyone will remember to distribute that 12 across the equal sign to the 10. Okay, but look at them though, they are still both 3 steps, right? combine like terms, divide. Distribute, combine like terms, divide. It's still 3 steps, but my experience tells me that most kids are going to prefer method 2 because they don't want to deal with fractions. I don't care which way you do it. You do whichever way you're comfortable with. So, they both got fractions all over the place. You can either get that calculator mojo, or maybe get your common denominators. I know how to work with fractions because I passed 5th grade. Or multiply by that least common denominator to get rid of them. Yo.
Where do you get like that number from? Like where it starts beginning?
3 times 4.
Oh, so 4 times 5.
Yep. Now, that's only 2 numbers, and they're relatively prime. They have nothing in common. But like 9, 6, and 3, I don't want to multiply them by 9 and 6 and 3 because the numbers would be gigantic.
You can just divide by 3, right?
What is a number that 9, 6, and 3 all go into?
3.
No, go into, not goes into them.
Oh,
18.
18.
Yeah.
So if I take the whole honkin' thing times 18, well, 18 divided by 9 is 2. 18 divided by 6 is 3 times 5 is 15. 18 divided by 3 is 6 times m. Ta-da!
okay.
Minus.
Minus 6.
Ism?
So, what would you, I don't really understand, like, what are you making?
Well, you don't use 3. You use your least common denominator.
Oh.
So 5 times 4 is 20.
Oh.
What's 2/5 of 20? What's 3/4 of 20? You can also do them in stages. What's 20 divided by 5?
4.
Times 2b.
Oh. That's
What's
why.
20 divided by 4? Times 3b.
I'll try to do it like a very...
20 times, oh, no denominator, so I'll just multiply them.
So, there's no denominator, so you just multiply.
Yep, well, technically it's 20 divided by 1 is 20 times 3.
I try to do it that way.
Never, ever, ever go to decimal land in my room.
But you
Fractions.
said to get away from the denominators and the fractions.
You lost part of your answer.
I did.
The difference between I get 10.25 an hour versus I get 10 an hour.
I mean, there's still the.
You lost that whole train there, Haas.
There's another.
You lost that whole train. Here, go math. Option number 1. Change to a fraction. Yeah.
Can you help me with my fraction button? If I have one.
ABC. Now the problem with this is it's not an inline display.
Mhm.
So you're going to have to just remember where stuff is. So, like if I was taking 5, 6 times 18, I'd have to hit 18 times. Now I'll say 5 ABC 6.
Okay.
And it writes like that equals.
Oh.
Okay.
I have a question about this one. I don't understand. Like, am I supposed to distribute it into these thingies?
Okay. What worked really well for Natalie was take it in pieces. What's 20 divided by 5?
4,
4 times 2b,
8. Okay,
right?
and so then it'd be like
Because
basically 5 times 3.
2/5 times 20, right?
Yeah.
So it's just faster. So what is 20 divided by 4?
5.
Times 3b,
15.
15b.
Okay.
There you go. And technically there's a 1 there.
So the second method, I'm not quite understanding it. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with the 20. Like, what am I timesing? You know?
Okay, I'm going to run through that multiply by the least common denominator thing again, because I think we said something, yes. I think we said something back there. It made sense for ping and pong, so it's probably going to make sense for everyone. Okay? Natalie and Sailor. Accurate. Okay. Okay, so stage 1. Least common denominator is a number that both the 5 and the 4 will go into. So if I count by 4s and I count by 5s, I'll end up here. 20, right? 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. Cool. 5, 10, 15, 20. Cool. 20 was the first number that they both went into. So I multiply the whole honking thing by 20. Now, where we were having trouble with is, so what do I like cross this out and then distribute it, or like what am I doing here? If I'm taking 20 times 2/5, do it in pieces. What's 20 divided by 5?
It's about
4. Times 2b,
60, 80.
8b. Because if I were to take clear 20 times, what was it, 2/5? 2/5. Okay? If I'm to take 20 times 2/5, take 20 divided by 5, whatever the answer is, times the top. Do it in stages. That seemed to work for them back there. Hopefully it works for you. If it doesn't, ask me. I'll say it differently. So do it again. What's 20 divided by 4? 5 times 3b. They are like terms. Okay. 20 times 3. 60. So when I combine like terms, and divide, is there a number that 60 and 23 have in common as a factor? They do not, because 23 happens to be prime. That's why you can't just say 1.7, right, Ashton?
Yep.
You lost part of your answer if you didn't. Do we need to go old school long division and show you this goes forever?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. How'd that work for you the last 3 weeks? So, if I have 60 23rds as an answer, I can use that here. I rewrite 2b over 5 plus 3b over 4 and see if that equals 3. Y'all got a calculator, use it. We just said 60 divided by 3. Ashton got, no, 60 divided by 3. 60 divided by 23. There we go. and Ashton gets mess. Oh, you were just plain wrong anyway. If you get mess, turn mess, math, and change that to a fraction. Ba-doom, 60/23. If I want to place that in here, I have 2 parentheses my answer over 5 plus 3 parentheses my answer over 4. I can type it exactly as it's written. That's why it's called a right view calculator. Okay. Or you could actually plug in 6/23 and go through all the arithmetic. Okay. Let the calculator do the heavy lifting for you. Okay. So someone else. All right. Someone else walk me through this. What is the least common denominator between 9, 6, and 3? 18? Let's get you out of here. And say the whole honking thing by 18. What's 18 divided by 9? 2. 2 times 1 is, well, still 2. 18 times 5, 6. Take 18 divided by 6. 3 times 5 is 15. Do it again. 18 divided by 3. 6 times m. So minus 6m. Doesn't that look so much cleaner now? All right, who's got to move? Question? Whatever you want. I will not force you to do one method or the other. I'm just presenting 2 different options and you choose.
You can choose. It is your decision.
So either one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless I specifically state something in the directions, I'm never going to force you to do it a specific way. Case in point, quiz number 2, question number 2. Write and solve an equation for this situation. If you didn't make an equation and you just started scratching out numbers, you did not follow the instructions. So, points off. If this just says solve, all right, have fun. Do whatever you're going to do. We said we have to get rid of 15. I've had a couple of kids ask this recently. How do I know that I subtract 15? Positive 15, I undo with a negative 15. Okay? Maybe having those numbers so close to each other weirds you out. So you might benefit from doing that electric fence of doom to separate your 2 sides of the equation. What is 2 minus 15? Negative 13 equals... Here's another thing that I saw kids make an error on fairly regularly. If I show that this zeroes out, look at what drops. Negative 6m. So what am I dividing by?
Negative 6m.
Not 6, negative 6, right? Show yourself what happens. Show that negative over negative is positive. Show that 6 divided by 6 is 1. Negative divided by negative is positive. 13 and 6, do they got anything in common? Any common factors? Definitely not, because 13 is prime. You remember what prime means?
Can't make it any smaller. Can't divide it anymore.
It cannot be what?
We're dancing around it. Anything besides 1. There you go. A prime number is like 2, 3, 5, 7. Because the only way I make 7 is 1 times 7. 6 is not prime because I can do 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. More than one way to make it. I get 13/6. I have to replace this whole m with a 13/6. That's where that answer button comes in real handy. I'm going to say 13/6. I have an answer. Awesome. All right. Natalie, Isaiah, swap. No, that's you flopping your lips the whole time. Five, 6 minus. If I have a fraction, I can just say my answer over 3. Okay? Let the calculator do the work for you. My job isn't to teach you arithmetic. That was elementary school. My job is to teach you the algebra. So if you need to use the calculator to make your way past the algebra, okay. How dare we include fractions? Now, Ashton, now you have decimals. Who here's in debate?
I'm not in it, but I'm pretty good at it.
There's a big difference between I like to argue versus I can actually debate.
I kind of do actually debate though when I.
Okay. Like the whole thing, like I got kicked out of debate when I was in high school because in the middle of a debate I said, "Yeah, well, you." The other guy was speechless. I thought I won. Like, okay, it doesn't work that way. In debate, they have something called precedent. Maybe you have heard this from legal terms. If you bring something up in court that they didn't already talk about, they now get to attack it. Okay? So if we have, I don't know, a redhead being accused of murder because they found bodies in her freezer, then they say, you know, we know that it was you because we found these bodies in your freezer and we did this. And you said, nuh-uh, they were there when I moved in because Grandma had... Now they can start attacking Grandma. Maybe you're learning from Grandma because that is the master and you are the apprentice. Okay, always two there are with serial killers. So,
Star Wars and murder.
maybe.
Don't think those go together.
The idea is these are already in decimal land. It's okay to work in decimal land. The previous ones were in fractions. You had to stay in fraction land. These are decimals. Go ahead and work with decimals. Y'all got a calculator? Who's got to move? Add or subtract it. It's a positive, so I'll subtract. Show that it zeroes out because what's going to drop?
Negative 0.02.
Now, do we know off the top of our head what 1.24 minus 3.5 is? Negative. Okay. And then divide.
I was going to say it's about
Divide by a negative 0.02x. Not x, bad Sullivan. divide by a negative 0.02. Show what happens. Show that cancels and that cancels. Show. Look like Colonel Sanders at the end of the Matrix. Okay. Show that negative over negative is positive. It's going to get big. Should have, because 226 divided by 2 is 113. You just have to manage the decimals. 2 decimal places divided by 2 decimal places going to cancel out. So it should just be 113, right? Yep. And then check yourself. Okay, so I'm going to take 3.5 minus 0.02 times 113. As long as it equals out, you're good. If ugly equals ugly, you're fine. I don't know. I think Ashton's kind of a studly guy. I don't know why you call him ugly.
That's what I'm saying.
Sound like someone jealous over there.
Yeah. Ooh. Oh, yes.
Go! What?
It's Springleaf from a rock deal.
No.
Okay. Bobble is.
Yes. Because it specifically ramps.
Oh.
By the way, you want me to put that map?
Yes. Yeah, we are streamlining the collection.
Do that. I'm going to do like a final check for everyone.
So you'll have 12 total columns, should be Woober-Gam. Rare. Woober-Gam. Rare. Standard.
And your rares and standards are not important at all, really. Other than being rares and standard.
Yeah. Those are smaller sets. I can go through that later. Who do what? And the thing, got the guy divided by the thing, which actually doubles it. Oh.
What's that about?
Oh. Extra problems. And when I made those notes, I couldn't find the problem that I wanted.
Backspace. Yeah, new spot.
New spot.
Unless you two are a problem, then we'll have to isolate that kid.
This is one of the artifacts. This is everything else.
Show me later. Because I'm kind of doing my job. Show that it cancels out. Show that that's what? 5, 2, 6, 1, 6. When you divide by something that's smaller than 1, it actually makes things bigger. So I'm actually not dividing by a half, I'm multiplying by 2. So 13.125? No, 13.5.
The 6 needs to be a 7. It needs to be 6.725.
Oh.
6.275. Yeah, 6.275.
All right, I feel like I'm on Price is Right now because everyone just yelled numbers at me. 6 point what?
275.
Okay.
12.55. Oh, brownie point.
12 point what?
You just noticed
5.5.
Okay.
Brownie point.
Slowly but surely, you might get there by January.
I won't be here.
Okay. I'm assuming by now you're either checking it or you're ignoring me, and have fun on the next quiz. Literally, I could not find a problem that I wanted to go in this spot. So I'm going to make up random numbers. You know what? Actually, let's go primes. 2.35x minus 7.11 is 13.17. There. Primes. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17. Primes. I'm just making up numbers. I don't know how this is going to turn out. It might be disgusting.
It's a gas station.
No, 7-Eleven's not a South Dakota thing. We're more of a Cenex kind of place. Yep. Casey's is East River, Minnesota, Iowa. Yep.
Casey's is so much better.
Casey's a gas station.
Of course.
No. Oh. It's just, it seems like it is at East River.
Never. How long does it go? Okay, since I just randomly made up numbers, go 3 decimal places to the thousands. No, long experience has taught me that if you round to the tenths, over time your answers get really dumb. Hundredths is okay, but thousandths is usually pretty accurate. 3 places. Okay. Add. Divide. And when that happens, 20.28 divided by 2.35, and it goes. Could I at least attempt it? One of these is correct, the other is not. One of them loses part of your answer, the other does not. Fractions, rational numbers, remember anything that can be written as a fraction, have the entire perfect answer. Decimals, you lose part of it. Case in point, did we talk about round off error? Did we talk about your job? Who here's got a job? Who's working hard for the money? Okay. So, how about Dominic? Do you mind? How much you making? 11 an hour. I tell all kids, businesses are getting a reckoning right now. They need to understand. I don't care if the kid's 14 or not. You don't pay anyone under 10 an hour. It's criminal. Okay? 11 an hour, not bad. Okay? How many hours a week do you think you work? 15? 20? Hmm?
We get 16 because it's 2 hours or 2 days a week, 8 hours shifts.
Okay.
Because I do the same thing.
Oh, all right. So we'll just go 16 hours then. Everyone, if you would, you got a calculator. What is $11 an hour times 16 hours a week times 40 weeks in the school year? He's over there like smirking like, yeah. Okay. Now, let's say Dominic's boss rounded. Maybe it wasn't supposed to be 11. Maybe it was supposed to be 11/12. It's not much, right? Take 0.1212 times 16 hours a week times 40 weeks. How much is that? Another 50 bucks. That's the difference of another game. That's the difference of a new game. And that they just stole from you because, well, it's only 12 cents. It's not, it's only a couple thousandths. Who cares? Businesses actually do this all the time when they calculate tips and tax and that kind of stuff. They always round off in their favor and they take that fraction of a cent and they keep it. Now, it's not a big deal when they're taking 7 thousandths of a percent from you. But what happens when they do that to 13 million customers this week, nationwide? Okay? So, does everyone know where the convert button is on your calculator? Okay, if you're on the Bumblebees, I said it was math, change to fraction, or change to decimal, depending. If you're on the Casios, they'll have like a SD button, S to D. If you got the 36X Pro, which is one of the best calculators you could ever have, it's just a straight up convert button right above enter. Found it? Because I don't know how to work these damn things.
I don't even know how to do the fraction thing.
ABC.
For the fraction?
Yeah. So if it's like 5 halves, you say 5 ABC 2. Mode, solve, trace, relation, 5, English store. Answer, secondary functions. You got a lot of stuff about stats on here. You got integrals. I know it's on there. I just don't see it right now. But yep, S to D. You should have an F to D button right above probability, secondary feature. Okay. So everyone's got to know where that button is, because look at how easy it was for me to say thing divided by thing, get nastiness. But then I hit change it to fraction, and now I have the correct perfect answer. All right? Don't round that answer off, or else Dominic's boss is going to steal his game. All right. Rare. I'm going to cut it off there. Give me a minute to look through the book. I got to make sure you got a decent assignment for the night. I'm just going to cut it off right there. Okay? You get to chill for about 5 minutes until I find the problem set, and then I'm going to put it up on the board. You can start working or not working, as you have already proven is your choice.